Dear future me, April 11th, 2026. Here we are, workshop. Now last week it was an interesting one because first time I saw myself in that onesie, in that boiler suit, and I have to say when I was editing I looked at that and I thought, oh, have I done the right thing or have I not done the right thing? But I have some confidence in what I'm doing. So at least, or blind confidence, blind panic, no, I don't know, blind something, faith, that's the word, blind faith in doing what I'm doing. So I have this vision for what I want with the boiler suit, and this week I've been mostly sorting out how I'm going to screen print. So first off, I brought myself a screen printing kit. And expanded beyond that, realizing that I needed to do a bunch of stuff. So I showed you some transfers. In a minute I'll flick through and show you some of the other transfers that I'm going to be using to screen print onto the boiler suit. The idea is that when I'm wearing it, I'm going to stand out. I'm going to look like an oddity, and people are going to go, what's he doing, what's he here for? And that's the kind of make it sound like or look like that I am the performer in the room, for want of a better word. So I've started off, I keep saying her as well, I'm going to have to keep stopping that. I started off by looking at that kit that I've just shown you and then realizing that I needed to deal with some other things. So I've needed to think about the space that I'm going to be working in. I've needed to think about how I'm going to work with light sensitive material. So I've had to close the windows in the garage, and I'll show you a picture of what they look like beforehand. And now what I've ended up doing is I've put these, stand here, see if you can see it. I've put these boards on the windows to keep the light out. I can turn the main light out. Before I do so, let me just come over here. I could put my safety light on, which apparently is a yellow light. And you'll see now that this is the sort of safety light that I can work in. There is some light coming in from the bottom of the door. I'll show that in a second. But generally speaking, I can make this light safe. Put that light back on. Turn that light off. Right, so the other thing that I needed some way of allowing the emulsion, which is light sensitive, to dry or cure in the dark, and then I needed somewhere to allow each of the screens I'm going to use to dry out when they're wet and when they've been used and when they've been cleaned. So I built this cabinet. So this cabinet is just held on with some bungee on either side with a little loop. And inside the cabinet I've got a bunch of screens ready to be emulsified, and the graphic kind of impregnated and printed on. I've got some smaller ones with these little double up trays I've made. We can see that, so that I can put two in on a shelf. So the idea is that I bring those out. Oh, and then I'm going to need to be able to put the emulsion on. There's a really nice series of websites, or what I should say is there's a really nice set of videos linked to a Facebook/YouTube channel where they provide lots of hints and tips on how to do what I'm trying to do. Insert picture just to show you them. Really helpful. One of the things that the guy talks about is needing to use one of these to put your emulsion on, and there being a sharp edge and a smooth edge, and the recommendation is, instead of holding the screen and trying to kind of coat it yourself with one hand, that you have some way of having the screen down and being able to coat it with both hands. So this is what I'm going to do. So again, because space is limited, Gene Kelly, Inspiration, Singing in the Rain. Take Gene off the wall, and then I've created this little shelf where I can wedge my screens, and then I'm able to use both hands to coat the screens. So yeah, happy with that because it kind of folds away. Yeah, what's this to do with music? You know, like not every week's going to be a music thing, and I'm not going to make a DIY channel, but this is about me preparing to do, kind of get the outfit for performing to be able to make this happen. And it cost far more to me to try and get somebody to make what I want, and it was a lot easier and I think financially cheaper for me to go and do this. The other upshot is that I've been using third-party companies to sell t-shirt designs, put a couple of those on the screen, and that's been great, that's been fine. But what I'd like to be able to do is to do kind of limited run of t-shirts, or print to order kind of t-shirts myself. You make very little commission, very little money on being able to send stuff off to a third party. So, you know, a t-shirt which may cost £15 for me to have purchased and printed using that third party system, and then you're going to sell it on. There's not a lot of profit to be had to be able to put onto that without it becoming extortionately priced. At a gig the other day, and t-shirts were selling at £40 each, and I don't think I'm going to be able to sell t-shirts for £40, and they're occasional sales rather than some sort of mainstream income at this point in time. And if things get big, then, you know, we can upscale and change things. But at this moment in time, I want to concentrate on getting myself some merch together, and a bunch of other things as well, like obviously get some recordings done. So that's the drying cupboard. That's my squeegee station, got my safety light. The other thing that I needed to do was to also find a way of cleaning the screens, and my first idea was to buy a bin, then cut a hole in the front of the bin. The idea was put the lid on and then be able to use that along with jet wash to remove emulsifier or to remove ink when I'm finished screen printing. I bought the bin, an Amazon purchase. The measurements on Amazon were such where I could get the screen in, but when it arrived it's ever so slightly too small, so I've had to come up with an alternative. And thank you local council, because I have a wheelie bin, and that wheelie bin is the right size for me to be able to put screens in. I'm going to put a mesh on 2/3 of the way up so it can capture all the kind of waste that's coming off, and I can dispose of that safely and what's the term, responsibly, and then use that to clean those, capture those things, come in dry. And I haven't had to go and buy myself a big screen cabinet or do anything silly like that. I'd rather try to keep things down at a minimum rate. So a lot of this was wood I had left over from building the extension on the studio. I'm going to stop right there. Is there anything else I can say? Yes, this week I managed to secure another gig in July, and that is now on my gig list. And this is a free event in support of Alzheimer's Research UK, which, you know, great. And I am working on some new cover songs, as well as playing around with the foot drum, which is probably something I'll show you next week, and also kind of understanding what went wrong with the digital drum setup a couple of weeks ago from the gig that I did in Florida in America. Anyway, okay. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming in. It's proven to be the thing it needs to be, and that is on my shoulder are those of you that are watching this, and so I couldn't get up this week and go, oh, I'll do it next week. So I've had to sit down this week and say, okay, how am I taking the project forward? How am I taking the work forward? And that's exactly what you're there in my mind to push me forward to do. So I really do thank you. So if you have listened or watched this, then brilliant. Thank you. Much appreciated. Like and subscribe should you want to, and I'll see you next week.